Ever since I can remember, my father's been a metal worker. He's also a sculptor and he does many other things. But sculpture was an unusual thing to be surrounded by. My background has made me appreciate older objects that weren't necessarily meant to be produced as sculpture, but an old, well-made piece of farm equipment, I think, has the appeal and the aesthetics of something that's really quite fantastic. The fire needs to have a nice heart to it. Good forging heat is a nice bright yellow heat. Once the metal starts to lose its colour, it means it's cooling down. The cooler it is, the tougher it's going to be, so it's important to stop, heat it back up. What I'm making today is a ram's head poker. People have been putting animal heads on the end of bits of metal for 2,000 years, almost as long as we've been making things out of metal. I'm going to split this into two separate lengths. It's important to keep the metal hot, particularly when you're going to be doing something quite severe to the metal, such as splitting it or twisting it very severely. It's one of the first things that most smiths are taught how to do, is to forge down to a point, square bar into round or round into square, then form a point. This is going to be a square point. Get that out of the way. The hammer I'm using is a German pattern. It's got a square face and it's quite useful for getting into little tight edges. Whatever hammer you use is a matter of personal taste. We do have some ridiculously sized hammers. As I said, you can't have too many hammers. We work as smiths because of that connection with our bodies, making things and trying to hone the accuracy of what we do. Smiths would get to the stage where it'd be very difficult for them to make things badly because of this repetition, because of getting it right, because of the efficiency they needed to make these objects. Check it for length. Make sure they're approximately the same length, that'll be close enough. Just going to get a little bit of a file in there just to clean it up while I can. It's important to keep the metal nice and hot. The metal's being forged, split, now being twisted, so you're doing quite a lot to the metal. Because the metal nowadays isn't really primarily designed to be forged, you sometimes get little fractures forming. Can be avoided by keeping the metal as hot as possible. I'm twisting the squared off section. If you twisted round section, you wouldn't see a great deal of difference. But when you twist it, you get like a screw-like twist that forms in the metal, which is quite decorative and copies the growth rings of a ram's head. Each of these ram's heads come out slightly differently. I don't mind that, I'm quite happy with that. The ones that burn me normally have quite a cross expression on their face, so a little bit of justice there. If I'm trying to make a piece of metal do something it doesn't want to do, I think it's perfectly acceptable to fight it a little bit. I'm just drawing these together. I'm using a leather mallet against a bit of wood. The twist that I've put in would be badly gnarled if I tried to hit them with a metal hammer. So I'm just going to cut this, start to cut the head. The tool I'm using is called a cut-off tool. I'm going to form that round. So the two parts that I've just formed will need to be welded together to become one. I've rounded them off so there's somewhere for the dirt and slag to spray out of, because you want a nice clean contact when you're fire welding. Just soak that in a little bit, get it all nice and hot, flick it out the way and hit. These little creations that I'm doing, these fantastic creatures that are formed and created out of fire, earth, air and water, are possessed allegedly with magic. They have a soul, if you like. I don't believe in all that myself, but it certainly hurts sometimes when you make them. Anyway, get him nice and hot. I'm going to cut his mouth now. Make his nostrils so he can breathe. The metal in this state is quite soft, so it will take moving around a little. We're going to give him some eyes, starting at an angle. They go in this side as well. We give him a little eyeball. A little pupil rather. Where's he looking? There we are. I'm using a rawhide mallet. This will protect the features that I've forged. Try and keep the nice bend in the nose. Produces a lovely smell using a rawhide mallet. There we are, bring him round. I like a nice swan neck on my ram's heads. It forms a nice terminal to the poker. Right, the next thing is we're gonna curl the horns. Blacksmiths nowadays are searching for an identity in many ways. We have a tradition of making tools, we have a tradition of making decorative ironwork, something that is designed to work within the physical environment and be efficient and be purposeful and be well made. All these things contribute to that object. And there he is. And I think it has as much beauty as some sculptures.